Okay, good morning. I think it's morning. Let's see, what time is it? Morning. Yes. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing great. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We're here for our weekly Facebook Live. Thank you for joining me. Please join me and let me know you're here in the comments. Today is Friday, weekend before Memorial Day, and I have quite a bit of topic, a lot of stuff to tell you guys. I want to update you on immigration news. I also want to talk about um, uh, some of our wins because I don't want to keep giving bad news, which a lot of the immigration news we're getting these days are not so great. But I want you guys to know that we're still in the business of winning cases for our immigration clients. And for those who do not know me, my name is Odunlami. I'm an immigration attorney from the Odunlami law firm in New Jersey. Our law firm serves clients in all 50 states. It's a national law firm. Wherever you are, we will assist you as long as it's in the areas of family immigration, humanitarian immigration, U visas, VAWA, SJIS, some asylum cases. We also do a lot of waiver cases, all of that stuff. So we're here to assist you with your immigration needs. And so uh, it's good to chat with you guys before this long holidays. I hope you guys have something great planned. So I'm just going to talk about the news real quick, and then I want to talk about a great win that we had. And I want to talk about it because we need to get good news. We need people to know that good things are still happening and they will continue to happen. And a lot of the information out there is really, I mean, that we're hearing the news, things are not great, but there's a lot of it that is based on trying to make people afraid to be here, afraid to file their papers. And it's important to do what you have to do to get your legal status, what you have to do legally to get your status. I will also go over certain things about VAWA denials because we're getting a lot of people come to our office asking us to help them because they filed a VAWA case. It was previously denied. So if I have some time, I'll go over that real quick. And then I want to answer a couple of questions. Sorry, I don't have a lot of time today because I have a hard stop at 12 o'clock, but let's make it work. So the first thing we want to talk about is this news that people who are in removal proceedings are being are having their cases dismissed in immigration court, and then when the case is dismissed, they walk outside and ICE is there waiting to pick them up. So so this is something that just happened last week. And all the immigration attorneys are, this was really shocking to us because this is not typically the way it happens, but it's been happening. And we want you guys to be aware that if you're here in the United States under 2 years, you're subject to expedited removal. And what the court is doing, what the ICE is doing, not so much the court, is that they are dismissing these cases of people who have been here 2 years or less. They're having the attorneys dismiss the cases so that they can arrest that person, put them in detention, and remove them from the United States right away. So what do you do if you're if this is something that's that you're facing? First of all, if you have an immigration a court case, you definitely want to have an immigration lawyer. You really want to, because there's a lot of stuff that happens that you need to be, you need to be a lawyer to be able to understand it. You need to be a lawyer to be able to understand how to process it. So an immigration lawyer in removal proceedings is there to help you. So if you're in immigration proceedings, you really should try to get an immigration lawyer. So this has been happening in places like Miami, I think Phoenix, Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. So what you need to do is, if you're there without a lawyer, you really want to ask that your case be heard. Don't agree to have it dismissed, because if it's dismissed, there's a chance that as you're walking out of that courthouse, ICE is there waiting for you to arrest you and put you in detention and remove you right away. If you insist on having your case heard, especially if you have a good case, you're asking to have your day in court. And if that case is not dismissed, they really cannot, you're making the work harder for them to get you removed in the manner that they want to have you removed. So it's important for you to know this. Now, you all know about the birthright citizenship argument that is before the Supreme Court. I think it was argued on May 15th. And so we're still waiting on that to see what the Supreme Court's response is to that. Now, yesterday we got the news that Harvard University got its service certification revoked. And what that means is basically that they cannot enroll international students. And worse than that, what it means for the international students who are currently at Harvard is that they have no legal status right now. So what that means is that they either have to transfer to another school, they leave the country, or they stay without documentation. They're now without status. And you know that when you don't have any status as an F1 student, it really closes all the avenues for you to get your legal status through employment. You get no OPT, all of that stuff, and really just narrows the ways that you can get your green card if that's what you're looking for. So this is really crazy. It's really crazy. And we heard this morning that Harvard has applied, has basically filed to the court to get this, to get an enjoyment, have the administration's actions stopped. So let me give you some good news. We had a client that came to us last year. He's in his 50s. He came to the United States when he was maybe about 10, 11. His mother had filed for him. He came in as a green card holder. And his mother had gotten her green card because her own mother filed for her. So she had a green card, and she was able to file for her son, who came to join her at the age of 10, 11. So our client told us all of this. And he'd had this green card. He had the old green card, the one that didn't have an expiration, right? He had it, and he had not filed to become a U.S. citizen because he had some criminal infractions on his record that would have been a problem. It would have gone to good moral character. And if he had filed to become a U.S. citizen and he was denied, the chances are that he could have been put in removal proceedings. So when he came to us last year, and I said to him, well, I don't know what your case is about without getting a FOIA, without getting the records of your mother's records, your records. We need to know exactly what happened with the filing. And we wanted to know specifically whether he could have been a citizen already without knowing this. We wanted to know whether he derived citizenship from his mother. And guess what the good news is? Well, we got the FOIA, we reviewed it, we saw that he had a green card when he was about 10, 11, 12 or whatever. His mother became a U.S. citizen before he turned 18. So I think his mother became a U.S. citizen when he turned 15. So that meant that he was already a U.S. citizen through derivation. And why this is important is that when I talked to him about filing the FOIA, he was afraid. He said, well, what if if we file the FOIA for him and it brings him to USCIS's attention and they get him deported? And I said to him, well, first of all, filing your FOIA doesn't typically bring you to USCIS's attention. But more than that, you have to invest in your future. You need to get the answers to this. We need to get this FOIA so that we can answer questions about what happened with your mother's filings, what happened with your filings, because without that, nothing changes for you. You'll remain in this position where you're afraid that you could get deported because you are a green card holder. And if you, as a green card holder, you are still subject to deportation. So when we got the FOIA and we went over it with him, guess what? He's already a U.S. citizen because he derived citizenship from his mother. He met all the requirements for that period, which was that his mother became a U.S. citizen before he turned 18. He was in his mother's custody, And there's a whole bunch of other things that he had to meet, and he met all of them. So the good news was he's already a US citizen. He's not going to be afraid of being deported anymore. He can apply for his passport. He can do an N600, get his certificate of citizenship. All of this great stuff that would not have happened if he didn't seek the services of an experienced attorney, if he didn't trust us to get that information, to guide him through the process, to review it, to answer the questions and give him the information he needed. So what I'm telling you guys is, I know a lot of you are afraid because there's so much going on. People are afraid to file. People are afraid to, do a lot of things, but it's important that you talk to an attorney who will discuss the risks and benefits with you. And ultimately, you always have to, the decision is always going to be yours, but you need to understand what the risks are. You need to understand what the benefits are, and you can ask your attorney for a record. What do you think? And all that. So for those of you who are out there afraid to file your petitions, for one reason or the other, sometimes you're afraid of the person that you're living with. Maybe you're in a violent relationship, a violent marriage, and you're afraid to file a petition because you're afraid they're going to hurt you. You're afraid of what people are going to say, or you've been a victim of a crime, but you don't want to go tell the police because you're afraid. It's important that you move past your fear, because if you don't move past your fear controls you. And when your fear controls you, guess what? Nothing happens. You don't change your circumstance. And it's important, especially in this day and age, to change your circumstance, because the Trump administration is really going hard at targeting immigrants, making them afraid. And you have a duty to do the right thing by yourself. Okay. So I wanted to talk, I'll just go over real quick. What time do I have? I want to go over real quick some of the reasons why your VAWA cases are being denied, because we've gotten a lot of people that called our office in the last few weeks who had filed a VAWA petition. Either they had some notarial filed it for them, they filed it themselves. Sometimes some of them even had an attorney file it for them. And we're working with some of them, and I thought, this is a good time to go over the reasons why your VAWA case could be denied. And we all know that having a case denied in this administration is dangerous, because there's a policy that says that if your case is denied and that denial puts you puts you in a state that you're not with a status, they can serve you with a notice to appear and put you in immigration court. So whenever you file an affirmative petition, it's really important that you're giving it your best. You want to make sure you're doing the right things. So let's talk about this for the next 10 minutes, and then I'll answer questions. So why are VAWA cases being denied? Well, let's talk about what VAWA is and what the requirements are really quickly. VAWA stands for Violence Against Women's Act. It applies to men, it applies to women, it applies to children. I wish they would change that name VAWA, because people think that it only applies to women. But you guys, if you've been following me for a long time, you know that VAWA applies to men, women, children. If you're married to a US citizen or green card holder and you have been abused in that relationship and it's a bona fide relationship and all that stuff, yep. Number two, if you're a child of a US citizen or green card holder, you could qualify to file for VAWA if you're under the age of 21. And if you're the stepchild of a green card holder or a US citizen, then that step relationship must have been formed before you turn 18, which means your parent must have married the US citizen or green card holder before you turned 18. Now, if your parent files for a VAWA petition, you as a child can be a derivative as long as you're under the age of 21. Now, if you're the parent of a US citizen who's over 21, you could also qualify to file for VAWA. Now, let me talk about VAWA in the marital context, because that has more rules, so to speak. What are the requirements of VAWA? You have to be married, a bona fide marriage. And not only does it have to be a bona fide marriage, you have to, which means that you marry the person in good faith, you marry the person because you want to live with them and be a family, as opposed to marrying them just to get a green card. That's what's called a sham marriage. And I've said this before, a sham marriage will put you in removal proceedings so fast. And a sham marriage will deny you of ever getting a green card. All right. So you want to make sure it's a bona fide marriage. You also want to make sure that you're eligible to be in that marriage. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that if you were married before, you want to make sure that that marriage or prior marriages were properly uh, 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 revoked, properly terminated, right? Because if it's not properly terminated, then your current marriage is void. It doesn't exist because the United States does not recognize bigamous marriages, polygamous marriages, and the like. So you want to make sure that the prior marriages were properly terminated. And that's why I tell people, if you find the love of your life who's a US citizen or green card holder, you've been married before, you want to make sure that prior marriage was properly terminated before you marry that person. It's up to you to make sure you do that. So don't rely on the fact that your ex in your country sent you a divorce decree. That does not work. And you also want to make sure that what else? You want to make sure that divorce was properly terminated. Now, if the person that you were married to, the US citizen or the green card holder you were married to, did not properly terminate their marriage, and you didn't know that, and you married them in good faith, and you had a valid marriage ceremony, you could take advantage of something called the bigamy exception. And that's because it wasn't your fault. It was your US citizen or green card holder spouse's fault when they didn't terminate their marriage. But if your marriage as a beneficiary was not properly terminated, then you don't get the benefit of the bigamy exception, right? And this is the one thing that a lot of people from several countries, Nigeria, Ghana, this is the one thing that is problematic. And you want to really, because I think part of it is that their government really doesn't keep good records. So it's important for you to make sure the divorce was properly done. I always suggest that if you're here in the United States, file the divorce from here, because then you have a United States divorce decree and US is not going to question that. So let's go to the second requirement. You have to live with your spouse. You have to show proof that you've lived with that spouse for some time. There's no requirement. It could be a day, it could be a month, but you have to have proof that you've lived with them. And sometimes that proof could be in the way of financial documents, maybe a lease, maybe affidavits from your neighbors, maybe what else? Joint utilities, whatever it is, you have to have lived with them for some period of time. Now, the third thing you have to prove is that there was abuse in the relationship. And I know a lot of people have been told that if you don't have a police report or you don't have a hospital report, that you cannot win a VAWA case. And I'm here to tell you that that is not true at all. Most of our cases, I'm going to tell you, like maybe 95% of our cases are won based on emotional abuse. Most people come to us because they want to make sure that what they went through is properly expressed in the application. So a lot of those cases are psychological abuse cases, emotional abuse cases, sexual abuse cases that was never reported. But the strength of those cases are in the declaration and how we help them build up their case by asking them for certain information. Now, you also want to show that you're a person of good moral character, which means you haven't committed certain crimes. And if you have, we want to see if those crimes can be waived, can be forgiven. So what are the reasons people's VAWAs are being denied? Well, it's been denied because, number one, the marriage factor, right? They are not properly, they're married, but their divorces were not properly terminated. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we're seeing for a denial, right? So that's why I tell you guys, it's important that you make sure that your divorce was properly done. And now there are people who come to the United States and tell, when they're applying for their B1, B2, they say they're married, but they're not really married, right? They lie to get the visa. Don't compound the lie by getting a fake divorce decree. It's better for you to admit that you lied about that you were never married, and seek to get forgiveness for that. Because VAWA allows you to use yourself as to show your own hardship to get the forgiveness, as opposed to showing a hardship of a family member, right? So what else? Another reason that cases are being denied are people are not providing enough proof of a bona fide marriage. And of course, sometimes, in cases of abuse, part of the abuse is the fact that your spouse is refusing to have commingled financial resources with you, or refusing to give you certain things, or destroying documents. That could be it, but that has to be explained. You also want to show proof of the abuse, and all of this has to be documented in a powerful declaration, right? Your declaration should discuss what you went through, give specifics, dates, if you can remember, places, people who might have witnessed it. You really want to get into it, what you went through, how it made you feel, and all of that, okay? What else? Other reasons for denial is you get married while your VAWA is pending. You can't do that. Your VAWA has to be approved before you get married. Now, nothing says that you cannot have children, but you cannot get married while your VAWA is pending. Otherwise, it's abandoned. Another reason for VAWA denials are filing your VAWA 2 years after your divorce. You've missed the statute of limitation. So I just wanted, let me see what time I have, 11:50, so I can answer some questions. So if you've gotten your VAWA case denied, reach out to us. So we work a lot on cases that were denied, and we've won so many of them because when we get your case, we sit down with you, we go over what you've been through, we talk to you, and we definitely help you build a powerful package. But if the reason your VAWA case was denied was because your marriage was a sham marriage, or your divorce was not properly done, and it's proven that that divorce was not properly terminated, we can help you. All right. So, but what we can do is we can screen you for other case types. We've had people who didn't qualify for VAWA but qualified for T visa, which is trafficking. Sometimes it's domestic trafficking, right? We have people who didn't qualify for VAWA, but they qualified for a U visa, right? And who knows what your history may be. We may find that, like my client, you were already a citizen and you didn't even know it. So let me take some questions so that we can wrap this up, because I have a hard stop at 12. All right. Hello, Patricia. Hello, Elizabeth. Our phone number is 973-993-1900. I'm going to repeat it again. It's 973-993-1900. All right. So let me take Ahmed Garba. He says, I sent an EAD renewal through my pending VAWA. My current EAD card category is CO9P, and I received notice, but class category in it is C31. Does this mean they're working on my case or just wrong receipt? Oh my God, Ahmed, congratulations. If you got a C31, it means your VAWA case has been approved. So the C9 is the EAD you get under the adjustment of status. But when you get a C31, it means that they've approved your VAWA and they're giving you a work permit through your VAWA. So congratulations, Ahmed. I'm really excited for you. All right. So, so you have a bunch of questions, but Ahmed, you've gotten your VAWA approved. So the next step for you is to get your maybe either you're called for an interview for the adjustment of status, or you just wait and you get your green card in the mail. And sometimes that could take up to 6 months. So I think you're saying that you went to DMV, but they rejected your application. They asked for I-797A form. So let me tell you this, wait to get your, I don't know why they're rejecting your request for a driver's license. I think it might depend on the state you are, but why don't you send them, when you get your VAWA approval, you get your EAD, you may be able to get enough points for whatever jurisdiction that you're in, okay? So Ahmed asks again, did I get the VAWA cases approved recently? Yes, yes, yes. We've gotten, I think, about 5 VAWA cases approved in the past, this week. And yes, it's they were approved recently. We keep getting approvals all the time because we've been filing VAWA cases for a long time, and we keep getting approvals. So VAWA is taking about what, maybe 36 months now. That's what they say, but it takes a while. So Mr. Toss says, I filed for citizenship and I was approved. My case shows the oath ceremony will be scheduled in Houston. How long will I need to wait and what happens next? So Mr. Tufts, well, first of all, congratulations on getting your, on being called to take an oath. They'll give you a date. Ultimately, they're going to send you a letter giving you the date that you're going to appear for your interview, and just read the instructions on what you're supposed to bring with you. And that's really it. Congratulations. It's only a matter of time now because they will get you that, they'll get you in sooner. Let me go to Instagram and answer a few questions. Right, Instagram fam, how are you? Let's see. All right, Nevi K Music, call us 973-993-1900. Kelly Weezy says, you have someone F1 and he gets his EB1A approved. Can he travel outside the country? No, before filing for adjustment of status, you cannot travel with that. I mean, your F1 allows you to travel, right? But honestly, in this administration, I would not travel. I think you need to talk to a lawyer and basically make sure that you have all the information properly. You know, you don't want to travel without having the proper documents to travel. All right. Samboya says, I'm trying to file for my brother who's in Nigeria. It's going to take a long time. We're talking about like 15 years, okay? You file the I-130, wait for that to be approved, and then wait for there to be a visa available for your brother before you move on to the next steps. Let's see. So MS says, I'm in the service and I want to get my wife a green card. Any advice? You can, as long as you're U.S. citizen or green card holder, you should be able to. But as long as your wife doesn't have any inadmissibilities, it should not be a problem. Now, you know, so I'm going to recommend that you talk to a lawyer so that you guys can make sure there are no issues with her. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to go through this really fast so that I can take some questions on TikTok as well. Thank you, Mensa. I appreciate. So Simply Modupe says, can you talk about submitting a birth certificate RFE for I-485? Is it okay to upload the original birth certificate online or mail it to USCIS even though the evidence has been uploaded online? Do not mail any original birth certificates to USCIS. They're going to lose it. You send them a copy. And we don't upload things online, so I don't know. I mean, you can upload it online, but just the RFE will tell you where to mail it to. I forget that it's an RFE. The RFE tells you where to address it and gives you instructions on how to mail it, because some of the RFEs want you to put a copy of that RFE on top of your packet. So follow the instructions. Follow the instructions about the address. Make sure you put a cover letter with your name, your A number. Make sure you put a copy of the RFE. Just follow the instructions, okay? Because you don't want to get denied because you didn't follow the instructions. So Super Maximum says, I applied for a travel document in 2023. Wow. But you're yet to receive it. What can I do? That's not normal, Super Maximum. That's a long time. So I think you should give them a call and maybe do an InfoPass appointment and try to get in there, okay? But that's not normal to have a work permit waiting for that, you know, over what, 2 years? No, that's not normal. All right, let me take some questions on TikTok. My TikTok people, I have not forgotten you. Let's go to TikTok and answer a couple questions. Good evening, Lucky. How are you? Let's see. I'm looking for questions. So Sankos 2012 says, my biometrics has been done January 8th For VAWA, when will I receive my work permits? VAWA work permits are typically taking about maybe 4 to 7 months from when you submit. So yeah, it seems like you're right on, in the timeline. Okay. All right. And another thing is you can also ask to expedite it if you have some pressing issues. So Sika says, my father became a U.S. citizen 2 years after I was born. I am undocumented still. Sika, you need to talk to an attorney because there's a definite requirement about certain things depending on when you were born, whether your father legitimated you. There's just a whole lot of questions that you need to answer to determine whether you can have any legal status based on your dad. So CH says, what happens when you and your spouse give different answers in the green card interview? Well, if it goes to material things, that's really not good because you would, likely they're going to give you maybe something like a notice of intent to deny, where you have to explain why your answers were different. I'm talking to the person who says him and his spouse had different answers. All right. All right. Let's see. I think 12 o'clock. So guys, I'm gonna need to run because I have a meeting at 12. So unfortunately I have to go. I have a meeting right now, but you guys had some really great questions, and oh my God, I would have loved to stay longer to answer those questions. So what I'm going to say is next week, typically I come in on a Tuesday or Thursday. So, I'm going to look through, if you leave your questions on here, I'm going to look through them and try to do like an FAQ with my next interview. Okay. Otherwise, if you have any questions, you need assistance, feel free to call us at 973-993-1900. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Take care.